Hello everyone, this is Chance, U.S. Navy veteran, #1 best-selling author, implementation strategist, and your host for our weekly Monetize Your Skills Academy webinar trainings. Listen, I hope that you are looking forward to tonight's presentation because it's really going to change your life. Everyone is trying to make 2019 the best year ever. So we want to make sure that you understand that in order to do that, it's going to take one key ingredient. But anyhow, so for those who may be new, we want to introduce ourselves to this community. Again, I'm Chance, U.S. Navy veteran, #1 best-selling author, implementation strategist, and founder of both Strategic Secrets and Monetize Your Skills Academy. So what we do here is we help people to be able to live their life on purpose, monetize their skills, make a lasting impact, and so that they can make a big difference in the world by being able to share their giftedness, their talents, and so forth, and reach as many people as they can possibly do with their skills, whether their skills, their education, expertise, and experiences. So every single week we come on this webinar and we do trainings on different subjects covering those type of things. So if you are the kind of person who want to up-level your life, your career, your business, your ministry, anything along those lines, you are in the right place. You can be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, pastor, ministry leader, educator, administrator, manager, coach, consultant, anything along those lines, you are in the right place. Strategic Secrets University equip you with the knowledge, the skills, and the motivation to be able to do all these things. And we also bring on several different guests as well. So on the screen here, you can see several of the books that I've authored. I've authored now 10 books, 8 back-to-back #1 Amazon bestsellers. And so we know what we are doing here. We want you to have the kind of success that we believe it is your God-given heritage to have and to experience. So I hope you have your note-taking device. Make sure you introduce yourself. You can chat, ask questions in the chat here as well. But feel free to interact. This is a community that is growing and we want to take it to the whole another level in 2019. So share it with your friends and family and those that you believe have a like-minded vision and passion. So what are we going to be talking about tonight? Tonight's webinar is all about how to win now. Not tomorrow, but how to begin winning now. When we say we want you to win now, there's one secret ingredient that will help you to achieve success in any and all areas of your life. Okay, one key secret ingredient that is above all others. Why am I sharing this now? Well, because research has shown that on January the 15th, most people abandon their New Year's resolution. We are just a little bit past the 15th now, just a few days past the 15th. And many people, perhaps some who are on this webinar this evening, you might have already gone back to some of the old ways of 2018. You might have also given up on some of the, the things that you really wanted to do. Some folks have goals to lose weight, make more money, whatever it may be, start a new business, start a new ministry, whatever it is, get more connected with God, be able to have more quality time, devotional time, those type of stuff. Whatever it is, you wanted to improve your life. How are you doing? This is a good checkup. How are you doing on your New Year's resolution? How are you doing on those goals? If you are not where you want to be or you have reneged on some of those things, well, you are in the right place tonight because it's not entirely your fault. I'm going to show you one of the things that people completely overlook, but it's a problem for everyone. And if you've been struggling with procrastination, struggling with goal setting and all of these different things, you must master this one key ingredient. Why? Because it will dictate the success you have throughout your life in any area of your life. It is that crucial. This one thing more than others. Of course, there are many strategies. I mean, I talk about strategic secrets, right, which give you different success ingredients and strategies. But this one, how to win now, is the #1. If you can throw all of the others out of the window, you absolutely cannot throw this one out because this one really is what dictates all others. And so if you can master this, trust me, by the ending of this year, you will not only have achieved your goals, but chances are, if you implement what I'm telling you today, you will surpass your goal. You will feel alive. You will begin living with more purpose, clarity, and vision. You will be focused, you will be disciplined as you really and truly desire to be. There's a quotation I like from Jean-Jacques Rousseau in The Social Contract, and he says, man was born free and he is everywhere in chains. Now this truly is the human condition, right? We are born free, but many things keep us enslaved and trapped. And the biggest entrapment of all is the one you and I put on ourselves. And that is why I love also what reggae legend Bob Marley, right? He had a song called Redemption Song that goes something like this. We must emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. Only we ourselves can free our minds. Because there are many folks even on here tonight, I will vouch to say, that are in the faith-based community. And we quote a lot of different things that are, we're supposed to be free, we're supposed to have all of this, liberties, but guess what? We are still in bondage. We're in bondage to many different things because of this one thing we have not mastered in our life. So first of all, let me explain to you the human dilemma. The human dilemma affects every single human on planet Earth. And this is one of the reasons why people fail, people do not achieve, people, can't achieve the things that they believe deep within their hearts they want to do. They long for success, but they get failure. They long for health and wellness, but they get the opposite. They long to become their best version, but somehow they seem to be living their own, definition of what you would call an unsuccessful life. Or let's just say you want to do things better, but you keep procrastinating. There are goals that and action that you need to take. There are tasks every single day that goes undone, and yet you do not get them done. Why is this the case? Well, it is part of the human dilemma. And I want to tell you right off the back right now, I'm going to use analogies from the sacred writings, the Holy Bible, to break this down for us. And trust me, don't run, okay? We talk about faith on this kind of presentation because we are spiritual beings. And not only that, but faith helps us to put all of these other things into perspective. And again, yes, we're still talking about success now. So learn something. Right? And if you're already ready to check out because we're going to talk about faith, listen, you're going to be missing out. And guess what? That's why you will still remain in the rut that you were in. You need to understand this because most people don't teach it like this. All right. So you have to understand what I'm talking about here. At least learn it. If it's not your cup of tea, then, after you've seen it, then guess what? Then just don't drink the tea. It's for somebody else. OK, so I hope this is making sense. So again, make sure you comment, make sure you like and share, depending on where you're watching this presentation. But what I want you to do now is, again, get ready to take some notes and get ready for a paradigm shift because I believe that is coming. So what is the human dilemma? For this, we need to go to the sacred scriptures to understand the human condition and why it is that failure is really something that is inevitable, right? Failure is inevitable because of what is going on in the human body. Okay, now check this out. In Romans, this is the Apostle Paul. And by the way, again, no matter what your faith persuasion is, Paul was a scholar, right? This man was brilliant, right? Paul was a leader in the early church. Paul was a church planter. We can say he had entrepreneurial tendencies, of course, because he did his own business on the side. Paul was monetizing your skills, y'all. So that's another training. But yes, Paul was able to do all these things. He was multifaceted, and he wrote the majority of the New Testament scriptures. So in his epistle to the Romans, in chapter 7, he breaks down this human condition, verses 15 and onwards, right? 15 to 25. But I'm going to look at these three verses in particular, 15, 18, and 19. Here's what he says. For what I will to do, that I do not practice. Hello, how many of you can relate with that right there? But what I hate to do, that is exactly what I do. Verse 18 says, for to will is present with me, but how to perform what is good, I do not find it. Do you have that? Do you find that happening in your life? You will. The will is present, like we said. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Right? You want to change. You want to eat right, but you don't eat right. You want to lose weight, but you eat the things that you shouldn't eat. Right? You want to exercise, but somehow you just can't find the motivation and encouragement. You might start, but then you go back. Verse 19 says, for the good that I will to do, I do not do, but the evil or the bad things that I don't want to do, those are the very thing I practice. So in other words, the good he wants to practice is not the good that he does. And the evil or the bad things that he does not want to practice, that's exactly what he engages in. Can we all relate to this? Right? Can we all relate to this? Right? That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter whether you go spiritual, secular, whatever. This is the human dilemma. This is the human condition. All of us go through this. All of us has this problem. And so this is why this understanding is crucial. And some people miss it because they are, hold on. Some people miss it again because we are closed-minded. But again, why do we procrastinate? You procrastinate on things that you want to do. That's not what you really desire, but you end up doing that anyways. Why is it? Because this is part of the human condition. So, but we need a solution though. We can't stay there. We're trying to explain to you why this is happening, how it is happening, and now we'll be able to take some action on how we can change all of this. So if that makes sense to everyone, type in a comment here, let us know what are your thoughts. Does this make sense, right? We find that does this seem to be a human experience for everyone on planet Earth? Of course, everybody goes through this. What we want to do, the good we want to do is not what we end up becoming or practicing or become disciplined in. But the things that we really don't like, that's what seems to dominate. And that's why we don't get the consistent successes that we want or cherish or desire. We get the opposite of it because this is what's going on. Here's what he also says in Galatians. This is another epistle of the Apostle Paul. Galatians chapter 5 verses 17 and 19 to 21. He says, what your corrupt nature wants is contrary to what your spiritual nature wants or desires. And what your spiritual nature wants is also contrary to what your corrupt or carnal, sinful, evil nature wants. These two, they are opposed to each other. And as a result, you don't always do what you intend to do. You see that? That's why people who close themselves off automatically from spiritual things is setting themselves up for failure, right? You cannot divorce who you are. We are physical, spiritual, emotional, mental beings. All of that is part of one. We cannot even compartmentalize. We are one, okay? So you have a spiritual nature. That's the nature, that's the side of us that desires to do good. But living in this flesh of ours has propensities to want to do things that are contrary to the higher spiritual levels in us, or the higher spiritual desires or being that is within each and every one of us. So we have this battle going on. That's why some folks says like you have a good angel on one side and a bad angel on one side. These are all different ways of kind of saying the same thing. So, but it is a war that is taking place in all of us. It's a battle. And how we fight this battle, or how we gain victory in this battle, will determine our success and failures in any area of our life. So again, it doesn't matter which area. Let's say you're talking about finances. If you can't get your spending under control, if you want to save money or make more money, but you end up spending everything that you have, you can't live off a budget. You see, that's the same battle that is taking place. That's exactly. In relationships, you want good relationship, but somehow you seem to be attracting only negative, bad relationships. It's the same thing over and over again that's being played out. It doesn't matter what area you pick. Academically, you want to get good grades, but you're not having the study habits. You want to study, but you have other things going on, or you have other things that pull you away. We want to do the TV, we want to sit down, want to relax. We can watch 4 or 5 hours of movies straight, but we cannot concentrate on our goals, our visions, and passions, right? It's easier to eat Twinkies and ding-dongs than it is for us to eat fruits and vegetables and nuts and so forth, things that are good for our body. You see what I'm saying? So the spiritual side of us desires the things of the spirit, the good things, the healthy things, right? The successful things. But the other side of us, then it desires the negative, the things that pull us back. So we have this battle that is going on within us, and that is the human condition. That's the human dilemma. So which side you feed will determine how much success or how good your success is and how lasting it is. So again, now that we understand, that's the basic foundation, right? That's the basic issue or the basic dilemma that we all find ourselves in. But now, how do we overcome this? How do we actually set ourselves up for success? Okay, now, before we get that, we still need some more knowledge about this, because knowledge itself is not freedom or power, right? Knowledge is potential power. It's when we apply it. But nonetheless, we need to know before we can apply, right? And the better that we know is the better we can be able to apply. So Paul goes back in Romans now, and based on this dilemma that he painted before us, he says now, he cries out in verse number 24. He says, "O wretched man that I am, who will deliver me from this body of death, this body of failure, this body of always missing the mark, this body of always not doing what is good and what is right? Who will deliver me?" So part of this right here begins to help us to identify how it is that we find solutions to our problems. He is asking right here for help. He is crying out for help. I think, we talked about this before when we were setting goals. One of the ways to achieve your goals faster is to ask for help, to get help, get a coach. Right? If you can't exercise and maintain a physical fitness regimen, then get a personal trainer. I bet you will be able to get results faster and better. See? So this is part of what he's saying now. He is saying, if what I want to do, I don't do, and the things I don't want to do, that's what I end up doing, who will be able to deliver me from this? How can I solve this particular problem, this dilemma? So he's frustrated. And right now you might be frustrated because you had some great goals. Right? If you are behind on your resolution, that is, or if you've just given them up completely. Because 2019 will be the very same for you as 2018 if you don't do something different. And every other year before that. So it's really easy to predict how your year will be. It will be exactly the same, maybe even worse, as the previous year, unless you change something, unless you find help, unless you do something different. And that's the secret I want to share with you on this evening. So we, like Paul, now must come to the point in our lives where we are saying, listen, I have a problem. I am not achieving my goals. I'm not, making the kind of money that I want to make. I'm not in the best health that I can be in. My relationship sucks. Just call it what it is. It's not going the way I want it to go. So what can I do differently? Who can help me? Where can I find help, liberation, freedom from all these things? I'm addicted to failure, it seems. I'm addicted to bad things happening. I'm addicted to spending and not budgeting and being, not a good steward with my resources. So in other words, you are not utilizing your talents, your giftedness, your uniqueness for the purpose for which God created you. If that's the situation you find yourself in, then just simply cry out, "Who shall be able to help me?" Ask God for help, and then ask other people that he may put on your heart. And if you are part of our community, you are in a good place to get help, at least when it comes to now being successful and being able to do anything that has to do with professional life, business life, ministry, along those lines. Okay, other things, there are other people who can help you out, but nonetheless, this is a principle. So if Paul is crying out now for help, we need to figure out now, how is the help going to come? So he's saying he's wretched, he is admitting he's in a bad state, and so now let us see the solution that is beginning to emerge from this. Okay, one of the things is, so when he cries out, he's looking for someone or something that can give him victory or power. And John 8:36 tells us, "If the Son therefore shall make you free, you are free indeed." So here's the thing. Many of us are free, but yet we live in chains. That's what Jean-Jacques Rousseau was technically saying. We are free, right? But yet we still live as slaves to behaviors, right? To problems. We are still living enslaved to debt and all forms of bondage, even though we have been liberated. Another one. Galatians 5 and verse 1 says, "So it is not enough for you to be free." This is what we have to do when we are free. It says, "Stand fast therefore in the liberty," or the freedom wherewith which Christ has made you free. And don't be entangled again with the yoke of bondage. So as a principle, let's just say, I don't know if you had the experience, but I've been there more than once myself. So that's why I can talk about this too. In the area of finances, right? When I first came to this country, of course, you can tell probably by my accent, I came to this country as a young man and I joined the Navy. My first financial lesson for my father was, do not get credit cards, right? For 3 years in the military, I did not get any credit cards, but after that, I needed a vacation. And so I took out a credit card, and before I started the vacation, I had already maxed out that credit card. So for the first time in my life, I understood debt and what being in debt was all about. And so, but I didn't know. Like Paul, I didn't have solutions, okay? But later on, by and by, I found some strategies on how to become debt-free, and I was debt-free in 2 years. Now, like Paul now, so now that I'm free, I was in debt, I was in bondage financially. Now, he says, I found a solution. We asked for help, and I was able to get some knowledge, some wisdom, and I became debt-free. But it was not enough for me to be debt-free. I should have stayed debt-free. I did not do like what Paul says, stand firm in your freedom. I was able to entangle myself again with the yoke of bondage and went back into debt and had to dig myself out again. So we all find ourselves into these type of things. So it's not enough for you to know how to be successful. It's not enough for you to know how to be successful. Rather, it is you have to continue to do the things that makes for success. Some of us have tasted success, but we don't continue disciplining ourselves or doing the things that begets more success. Again, if you have lost weight in your life, did you continue to do that? Many of our people's relationships go sour simply because the things they used to do when they were dating, they don't do those things anymore, right? Because the stuff gets sour over time, and this is part of the problem. So now they're being free, right? We say we are single and people want to get married, and so now they are being freed from singlehood. Now they got into marriagehood, and it's like, hey, this seems to them to be bondage, and now they go back into the same predicament as before. So many people I find struggle because, of course, I'm a man of faith as well, right? I've served as a missionary, as a pastor, and other things like that. And I see that many people, even spiritual people, people of faith, struggle with this many times. We claim some of God's promises like this one. You know, God has set us free and let you live in bondage. How is it that God set you free and you can't overcome certain things? How is it that God set you free and you can't be able to begin to be successful in a particular area of your life? Because it is not enough to know that you are free. One must begin to walk and operate in freedom. Let me make this plain. I don't want to belay the point, but I want you to make sure that you got it, okay? So let's go back to slavery in the United States and in Europe, right? When the Emancipation Proclamation Act was signed into law, it was a law that now says that slaves were free. So that law was a law that liberated people. Now, there were 3 types of slaves, okay? There were 3 types of slaves. When that law was passed, there were people who, even though now they are supposed to be free, they still continue living as slaves. Why? Because they did not know about the law. That's where, again, knowledge does make a difference, because they did not know, so the ignorance was killing them. So therefore, that's why ignorance is never bliss. So they did not know they were free, and so therefore they continue to live in bondage. There was a second class of slaves. This second class of slaves, they knew they were free intellectually, but because they had lived in slavery for so long, they could not live as freed people because they were in bondage longer than they were in freedom. So to them, they had no clue on how to live free. And so even though they were actually freed, they still also live as slaves, because they simply did not know, what does a free man do? How does a free man carry him or herself? How does free people operate? How do they think? You have been in bondage for so long that even when you have been declared free, we still live in bondage. I know that right there, if this was church, we would be singing hallelujah, okay? But this is the same thing with us today. Again, this applies to any era, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, don't throw this thing out because it sounds all spiritual, okay? Listen, this is deep and real stuff, all right? Because think about it, process it, right? Free slaves were free, but they live like slaves still. What's the point, therefore, of being free? So it's the same thing. If God has liberated you from something and you still live in bondage, then you have not yet claimed your freedom, but he has liberated you. but you are still living in bondage. Perhaps you don't really know or believe that you are free. Second-handedly, you're not practicing what the lifestyle of freed people. And lastly, this is the third type of slave, which I love. This is the slave now who knew they were free, right? And they decided to walk away from everything that reminded them of slavery. These are the kind of folks who, for example, most of them in the South, they went all the way north and Canada and other places because now they were exercising their freedom. Did it take a while for them to fully embrace? Of course. But at the same time, when they knew they were free, they believed that they were free and they acted free. They started making the movement. So it's the same thing with you. It's the same thing with me. Will you claim and accept that you are free and that there is nothing that you truly desire that is good and just and honorable and righteous that you cannot do and have and be? You have to believe it. The problem is we really and truly are struggling with our belief system. Okay? And so let's go on. Let's go on. I hope you guys, I hope you got that. I hope you got that. You are stuck financially because of a mindset. You are stuck physically, emotionally, relationally, socially, academically, whatever it may be, because you are not exercising freedom. And it's as simple as that. Now, let's continue now. Let's see, because I was giving away a little bit here now. So Paul, back to Paul now. So remember, Paul already cried out. Paul is looking for solution now, but he gives us the answers right in the passage. So in verse 23 now, he goes on to say, I see another law in my members or in my bodies, warring with the law of my mind, and bringing me into captivity to the law of sin, which is in my members. In other words, let's break this down, make it contemporary. He says that in his flesh, in his body, in his soul, in his being, he finds that there is a law operating within his body, that the good side of him, or the spiritual side, wants to do good, but the evil side, which wants to do bad, brings him into captivity, meaning that it enslaves him. It makes him addicted. It makes him want to watch TV when he should not be doing that. It makes him want to be lazy instead of exercising and being healthy. It makes him want to speak evil things instead of being kind and generous and the like. It makes him one who fails more often than succeeds. This is what Paul is telling us though. But notice, he says, I see a law. So there are two laws, therefore, operating within the human body or in the human person. The law of our members in our flesh, in our body, and the law of our minds in our spirit, in our soul. These two laws is the same thing what Paul says in Galatians 5. They are contrary to one another and they are at battle, they are at war. So if we understand now what Paul is saying here, therefore, the battle, therefore, is what? Is for the mind. The battle is for the mind. The battle is for the mind. The war is taking place in the mind of the individual, right? One brings him captive to the lower natures, the procrastinating side, the side that wants to do bad. That's the nature that is pulling against his nature of his mind, the citadel of the body, the mind, the computer nerve of the entire system, the mind that governs our activities, behaviors, and so forth. So now, can we find another clue? So right here he tells us now we understand that our mind is where the battle is taking place. Notice when he cries out in verse 24 again, he says, O wretched man that I am, who will deliver me from the body of this death? And now he says, I thank God that through Jesus Christ our Lord. So right here is what we are saying. So now that's why we understand that we are spiritual beings and we need help. We need divine help. So on one hand, we understand that, again, it says, whom therefore Christ has set free, you are free indeed. But you must stand fast in the freedom that he has made you free. Don't go back doing the old things. Right? In Romans 8, he said, all these bad things, sin and other things, shall not have dominion or control over us. So you must continue to practice until you gain the mastery. But here is another clue, because sometimes we put it all on God. God does his part, but you and I, we have a part to play. And that's what many people of faith fail right there, because they just think God is going to just take it out of my hands, take it out of my mouth. It doesn't necessarily work like that. I can guarantee you, majority of the time, it does not work like that. So now, but here's another clue he says here. So I thank God through Jesus Christ. So that's where now humanity and divinity must merge together to win this battle. So we need spiritual help. We need spiritual intervention. But now, here he says now, so then, with the law, with the mind, I serve the law of God, but with the flesh, I serve the law of sin. Make it contemporary for us. With my mind, I do the good things that I want to do, but with my body, with my flesh, the evil propensities that are in me, I end up procrastinating. I end up doing what is wrong and doing what is bad. With my mind, I serve and I make intelligent decisions, because we are the only creatures who can think and reason on this level. And so therefore, you and I, if we are having more failures in our life, it's our own fault and our own decision. For the most part, of course, there are things that happen in people's life that we have no control over, but our response, we can still control that. The majority, I would say 99% of our failures come from our own actions, behaviors, and the like. So therefore, if you want to be successful, you have to master right here, because Paul says, with my mind, the good I want to do, that's what I do. With the mind I serve, but with my flesh, in my body. You see, your body tells you it should stay in the bed. But your mind knows that you need to exercise. So you give in to your body, or you give in to your mind. Your mind says that you need to sleep with somebody else's spouse, or somebody else's lady or guy, or whatever it may be. But guess what? Your mind says that that is not right, so therefore I would not do it. Your mind says it's time to get up and grind, but your body says, no, let's take it easy today. Your mind tells you that it is good for you to have a budget, and it is good for you to be able to achieve your goals, but your body is telling you, well, I don't want to go through the pain. You see, pain, we think that is a bad thing, but pain is the body's way of crying out. But the mind is saying sometimes, no, without the pain, there is no gain. So will you submit temporarily to the pain, or would you just give in and say, well, I don't want to have any pain, so therefore I'm not going to do it. I'm going to let my body take over. Are we seeing it? Are we seeing it? You know intellectually what it is that you need to do, but we don't do it because we allow our flesh, our feelings get in the way of what we know to be right. So you have to begin to master this. So what is the secret? The secret is learning to master one's mind. The battle is in the mind. If you can understand that, you will be able to become successful. But let's break it down some more, right? So here's a quotation from a wonderful book called Mind, Character, and Personality. It says, the mind controls the whole man and woman. All our actions, notice this, all your actions, good or bad, have their source in the mind. It is the mind that worships God, right? It is the mind that worships God and allies us to heavenly beings. All the physical organs are the servants of the mind. You see that? All the physical body that we have is subject to our spiritual mind. And the nerves are the messengers that transmit its orders to every part of the body, guiding the motions of the living machinery or our living physical structure, the physical being. So therefore, understand this. Your mind is where we worship God. Think about it. Right? And that's why the condition of your mind determines. That's why the devil likes to get us to be discouraged and depressed, because he attacks our mind. And therefore, when we are not in a mind of belief, a mind of faith, what happens? We operate in doubt, because doubt sees, right? We let our physical senses dictate. But that's why it says the just shall live by faith and not by sight. Sight has to do with our physical eyes. When we see problems, we now begin to become fearful, and it says fear has torment. So if you are fearful, you will not go after your dreams, because you are imagining now things that will derail you, that may not even be so. As someone says, rightfully so, I think, fear is false evidence appearing real. F-E-A-R. Fear, false evidence appearing real. Because when you are, it appears real because it comes through our physical senses. But our spiritual mind ought to be able to say, listen, this is a mirage. This is just an illusion. But we allow our minds now to be dictated by the body rather than the body being dictated by the mind. Do you get it? So if all the things you want to do, the good, right, not the bad, they all stem from here. It's the way you think. It's the way you believe. It's the way you process. That is the problem. Here's another one. A great deal of sickness that afflicts humanity has its origin in the mind. Today we are finding that out, right? And can only be cured by restoring the mind to health. right? So our minds have all of these things that creates physical manifestations in the body. So 9/10 of all diseases originate in the mind, right? Psychologists and other people will even tell you this. But because science is realizing that, that's why today mental health is now becoming one of the most costliest things to cure. Because we have overlooked it and been treating the physical bodies. And that's why sometimes people go into the hospital and but the doctors don't check for your mental emotional state. They just deal with the symptoms of the body. And that's why they're not necessarily curing diseases. They're just dealing with symptoms. Because if you go into the doctor, you have some physical manifestation of pain and other things, it could be simply because you have relationship problems, right? Negative stinking thinking. Right? So if we have that, the doctors don't ask us just necessarily, how is your relationship at home? How is your marriage going? You know what I'm saying? People have all sorts of things they're dealing with. Your job could have been the stress that is creating this physical reaction, but no one deals with that. And that's why some diseases cannot even be diagnosed properly, because again, they say, okay, if you feel this thing, and they just give you pain medication. But all it's doing is numbing the issue without solving it. It's not getting to the root. The root cause is here, your mind, your heart. These are the things that are generally creating most of our problems. Of course, there are other things that affects, don't get me wrong, but majority, a great deal of the sickness that afflicts humanity has their origin in our minds. This is why you have to understand that you're a spiritual person, because no one ever can put a diagram. No one can plot these things on a diagram per se, right? And that's why it's hard for doctors to figure it out, because they just deal with, again, the physical. But who deals with the spiritual side of us? Okay, now let's continue. So even folks of spiritual nature too. So here's another one. This other part, I don't want to gloss over this, but it says there are also erroneous doctrines. So that's why you got to be careful too with churches, right? Churches are great places where we can find God, but churches have also, and religion itself in many cases, have caused many not to be successful also, and many to even have mental issues, because it says, for example, erroneous doctrines like the eternally burned in hell and endless torment of the wicked, and all of these exaggerated and distorted views of God's character. That's why people don't even want to hear nothing about God, because we people have in many ways mischaracterized or misrepresented God in the way they say certain things. Okay, so you have to be careful with that. But I hope it's plain. If that is plain, it makes sense. Let us know in the chat here again. Proverbs 23:7. Everybody quotes this. Businessmen, everybody quotes this. As a man or woman thinks in their heart, so are they, right? As we think, so we are. It's all here in your mind. You want to have success in every area of your life, you have to begin with your mind. Now, the master teacher, Jesus of Nazareth. Now, I want you to pay attention to this also. This right here is liberating. Here is what he's telling us again, to understand that all the defilement and things that we don't want to have in our lives have their roots in the mind. Notice again, he says, there's nothing from without a man or woman that entering into them can defile them. But the things which come out from them is what makes them defile. So the disciples, they couldn't understand this, so they went ahead and they asked him, what did he mean by this parable? So he went on to explain. He said, listen, from within, out of the heart or out of the mind, because we think with our hearts, right? Out of the mind proceeds what? Evil thoughts, the adulteries, fornication, illicit sex, murders, thefts, greediness, wickedness, deceit, unbridled, all these different things, right? In other words, all the bad things we don't want, even failure and a lack of success, these things have their their roots from within us. So what you try to do is you try to fix your behaviors without fixing your mind. If you fix your mind, you take care of the behavior. Notice he finishes it off by saying, all these things come from within the person's mind. And that is what makes them defile. That is what makes them fail. That is what makes them who they don't want to be. It is the thoughts that creates these conversations that proceeds in our mouth, that we repeat over and over again, that forms these actions that we take, that when we take these actions over time, we form habits. These habits forms our character, and our character is who we are. It starts here with the mind. The mind creates the thoughts. The thoughts get blurted out into words. The words form the actions. The actions create the habits. The habits form the character. The character becomes the person which will ultimately seal your destiny. It all has its origin in the mind. As a man or woman thinks in their heart, so are they. As you think in your heart, in your mind, so are you. If the external behavior is not what you want, don't focus on the behavior. Focus on what is creating the behavior. If you fix what causes it, then you will be able to change the outcome. When you plant tomatoes, you must get tomatoes. When you plant beets, you must get beets. One cannot plant beets and get tomatoes and vice versa. So if you are planting failure and that's all you're getting on the outside, then you must change what you're planting. There's no way you can continue doing the same thing and expect a different result. Some people say that is madness, that's insanity. And that's why I told you in the beginning, 2019 will be the exact same way it is and was for you in the past 2018 and other years if you do not do something different, if you don't change something different. Nothing is going to change for you. Why? Because you're doing the very same thing that's been producing the same result. And many of you can go to the next level today in your life, in your health, in your marriage, in your finances, in your career, if you will but change something. Some of you need to change jobs in 2019. Some of you need to change the problems that you are solving. Some of you need to stop being so poverty mindset driven and pay for coaching, pay for help. Because if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to get the same result. Now, many of you, we keep wishing, I want to be rich, I want to be a millionaire. You will never be a millionaire by wishing to be one. Wishing is like having resolutions. That's why I already said I don't do resolutions anymore. We gave up on that stuff many years ago. Resolutions don't work because they're like wishes. You have to set goals. We believe in goal setting. Resolution is like a wish. I wish to do something. If your resolve is not based on goals and plans and so forth and actions, you're not really trying to change. You're just hoping somehow that nebulously is just going to come into place. Even people of faith has that problem. We just say we wish, we just wish that God would make me something. God is not just going to make you something. God is a God of order and discipline and principles. We need to learn to follow the principles of God, not just the person of God. So many of you know God as a person, but you don't apply his principles, and that's why you don't get results, because knowledge by itself does not really transform. It is the application of the knowledge that makes a difference. He says to his people through the prophet Hosea, he says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And that's where many people stay. That's not what the verse says. He says, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge because they reject the knowledge, because they don't do and apply what I've told them. It's not that knowledge is not available. Knowledge is available in plenitude today. Think about it. You go to Amazon and you have financial problems. There are thousands, hundreds of thousands, and perhaps millions of books that are available on finances. Every aspect of finances, saving, investing, spending, all of it is all there. Health, oh my goodness, that's one every single day it seems like something new comes out with health. But do we practice the problem is the issue. Do we practice those things? No, we don't. So the knowledge is available. The knowledge is there. We need to have the knowledge, but we must begin to apply the knowledge. But the reason we do not apply the knowledge again is because in the human experience, we want to do the bad we don't want to do. So we have to begin to change the mind, to allow the mind now to accept the new input, and then in time, that will become the new you. I hope that is making sense. I know it's probably touching on some folks here. Okay, so how do we win back our mind? How do we win back our mind? I'm just going to introduce this because let's see, for the sake of time, we want to be able to probably do another option. Another training on this. Okay, so we're gonna have to take this again. Let me take a little sip here. How is this resonating with you guys? Silence is good sometimes. Let you think. How do we win back our mind? Chance, you're telling us that the problem is in our mind. Yes, I am. I'm telling you that your mind is the reason why the things that you believe, whatever occupies your mind, is the reason why you are not achieving the kind of results you want. Pick any area of your life. Your health is not where it's want to be because you've been conditioned in a certain way. Your finances, we have this poverty lack mentality that is preventing us. Your belief system around money is what shapes you, right? There are many people who could do better. It's not a lack of skill, right? We talk about monetizing skills. I said people got skills that are six-figure skills even. They have the education, they have the expertise, they have the experiences, but they're still not broke. You know why? Because of the mental conditioning surrounding money. It's negative, and therefore you keep getting the negative results. You can go, just type online, check Professor Google, right? The majority of Americans, over 70-something plus percentage and above, are living paycheck to paycheck, right? The majority of Americans don't even have $1,000 saved in an emergency fund. We are broke people, looking the part, thinking that we are doing well, when in fact, if people really knew what's real, we would all be ashamed and shocked. And that's why even finances is the leading cause of divorces, right? Again, you see, if people just say, oh, divorces are happening, but studies show that one of the leading causes of all divorces is because of money problems. So that's what I'm saying. It's not they want necessarily more counseling and all of that. Counseling might help, but unless you solve their financial problem, that's the root. They need to be able to take care of that, and then they can experience some positive stuff on the other side. But how can they also experience a positive financial turnaround when in fact their belief system, whether it be from childhood or whatever, is about lack, scarcity, money is the root of all evil? All of these things, if that's what you believe, you will never have abundance of money. You will never have it. Why? Because those mentality, they are not what produces wealth and blessings. God is a God of generosity, of abundance. He is unlimited, and we think limited. So, how do we begin to win back our mind? Let me introduce it for next week. We're going to go into 7 key strategies on being able to do this. But I want to let you know that it's not going to be by you fighting and trying harder. Trying harder is not the solution. Let me just put that out. Trying harder is only going to get you more of the same. Because what are you going to try harder? To do what you've been doing? No. Right? That's not the way it works. Don't try to fix your behavior neither. Because all you're going to do is keep fixing one. That's called putting out fires. When you try to fix this one, another bad thing pop up. So you no longer, let's say you have a bad habit of smoking, you fix that one. Then something else come up over here and you keep fixing that. But you never deal with your internal dialogue. You never deal with really what is the trigger, what is causing all of those things, right? So how do we begin to win it back? And again, I'm giving you scripture because these answers have been here all along, and everybody owns a Bible, but they don't read it, they don't study it, right? So we're giving you some free stuff here, right? So here are 3 scriptures that will help us. Right here in Romans 12 again. So Romans is a powerful epistle of Paul. He says, be not conformed to this world, but be transformed. How? By the renewing of your mind. How do you want transformation? Do you want physical transformation, financial transformation, professional transformation? Do you want transformation in your career, in your business, in your ministry? Then he says we have to renew our minds. That's how you experience the transformation. Ephesians 4:23 says, be renewed in the spirit of your mind. There we go again, right? Philippians 2:5, why was Christ able to do what he did? He says, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ. We need the mind of Christ. Christ was not a failure. Christ was not sick. Christ was healthy. Christ was successful. Christ was goal-driven. He said, listen, Christ was not even deterred from his mission. Notice what he said all throughout, right? My mission, my purpose is to do the will of him that sent me. He said, I did not come to do all this stuff to be served. No, he said, I came to serve and to give my life a ransom. That's focus. That's focus. That's discipline. He did not get distracted by the things of the world. He was focused on his mission. And you got to be focused this year, 2019. But you're going to need a mind transformation, a mind renewal. That's the secret to having instant success. Because the moment you change your mindset and your belief system is the moment you will begin to have the kind of success you want to have in any area of your life. So that is the solution. That is the number one secret to instant success in any area of your life. So next week we're going to begin to talk about the 7 steps to reprogram your mind for success. 7 steps to reprogramming your mind for success. I hope that helped you. So here's what I have for you. In the meantime, before we get on next week, you can go to strategicsecrets.com/winnow. Okay, I wrote a book on this, and there's an audio book as well. And so I'm giving you something to help yourself. Again, we got to think differently. If you want different results, you have to do something differently. If you use the same input and the same knowledge you've had in the past, that's not been serving you. You need something different. So this is a short read, right? But it gives you all these steps. I want you to go this book, and it's an audio book as well. So you can get both of them. And it's less, let me tell you, it's less than $20. All right? So you can go ahead and get this stuff here, and it's going to transform your life. Go to strategicsecrets.com/winnow. Now, what are we going to cover in this book? So let me just read a few of the things from the table of contents here. It says why change is tough and what you can do about it. So change is tough. Sometimes people like to make it feel like change is easy. It's not easy. It's not really so tough, but the problem is we keep trying the wrong thing. So it is hard, because if anybody has really tried to change something and you've been struggling all these years, then obviously it's not easy for you, right? But we explain in this book why. Because notice it says why. Why is change tough? And what you can do about it so you can make it easy. Another one is all about our belief systems, right? Our mindset, learning more and understanding about that, and the power of decision. Because Paul mentioned in here as well, he said the will is present. We want to be able to now tap into that part of us also to be able to begin to have the mindset shift and the paradigm changes that we need. So we're going to talk about that. Procrastination and the mind. Procrastination is one of the biggest blunders and the biggest thing that hold all of us back from achieving significance and greatness that we can have. Pain and pleasure principle. We understand this. Many people have spoken about this. But again, I like to bring in scriptures in regards to many of these things. But again, pain and pleasure. These are the reasons to do or not to do things. Right? Again, and it is based on, again, that's the physical. Remember, right? When we are in this physical and it is painful, we don't do it. But just on the opposite side of pain is the success that you're looking for. And vice versa, when things are pleasurable, it's more pleasurable to sit down with a bowl of ice cream and eat it than it is to go outside and get some exercise for the same hour. But we would rather sit down, watch TV, and finish all of that ice cream or potato chips. See, pain and pleasure principle at play all the time. How to think correctively, right? How are we going to now make the shift, the transition from this way of thinking to the good way of thinking? And then lastly, again, I go through the 7 keys to reprogram your mind for success and abundance. It's all covered here, and you can listen to the audiobook, listen to it over and over again until you get to become one with the message. So that's what I have for you. But I'm going to break it down. I'm going to break it down also again on next week. But suffice to say, you can read about it. And you can also listen to the audio. Go to strategicsecrets.com/winnow and get this book, an audio book. Win now is powerful because I want you to win now. It's time. It's your time. 2019 is your year to win now. No more just barely getting by. No more of just tolerating failure, tolerating sickness, tolerating lack, tolerating bad stuff. No more of that. This is the year to win now. I know it's been difficult, yes, but guess what? It is not entirely your fault. You have been given wrong information. Now you have the power to transform. Paul says, be transformed. But how? By renewing your mind. You have never heard about renewing your mind. This is giving you the secret of being able to renew your mind. And when you begin to renew your mind, you will notice, just like when you plant stuff, right? I have a garden outside. There's some crops I plant, and guess what? It takes 3 months for them to germinate, 3 months for them to be able to yield. But guess what? Once you plant them, you know you're going to get the results. You have to plan something different in 2019 so you can get something different. If you want financial transformation and financial abundance, guess what? You cannot do the same thing that you've been operating on with the same old information that you've had. You need some new information. You need stuff like we teach at Monetize Your Skills. You need, actually, if you're not in Monetize Your Skills Academy, you better get a subscription now, because you have to change something in order to get a different outcome. That's just plain straight and lovingly simple. All right, I hope that helped you. Again, this week we have covered the #1 secret to instant success in any area of your life and how you can win now. It is my desire that you, being a part of Strategic Secrets University or Monetize Your Skills Academy, that you will experience abundance. We want you to succeed, because our mission is to educate, equip, and empower our tribe of followers so they can live a life of purpose, make a big impact, make a difference, be able to achieve greatness, so you can in turn now, when you achieve these things, you can give back and be a blessing to many people. That's what we want. We want you to be able to sustain your divine, your God-given mission, message, cause. Whatever vision God has given you to you is going to take resources. So that's why I created Monetize Your Skills Academy and Strategic University, to give you the tools, the knowledge, the wisdom, the expertise, what you need to know in order to create this type of income, to create these resources, to create these tools so you can impact your world in your way. Not using my gifts, using what God has already given you. We just provide to you the training, the tools that you need, and now you go out there and implement them and watch how your world transforms, but also the world of others. But you got to take care of yourself first. Get your mind right. Get this book. Win now. Okay? You owe it to yourself. Get it. Win now. It helps you to win now in 2019. strategicsecrets.com/win now. I'll see you on next week. May God richly bless you. Until then, have an awesome, awesome week and weekend. Bye-bye.